Greetings everybody and welcome. It's Tuesday, it's 8 o'clock in the evening, it is time for Macro Talk. This is Alan and I am in the dungeon in the back and I have no idea if you can hear me or see me. So who's our bouncer this evening? I believe it's Alistair. Hey Alistair, glad you're out there. Bud's out there as well, fantastic. If you can hear me or see me, wave or something like that. Send a smoke signal. Just need to know that you can hear what I'm saying, because we're going with a different rig today. I'm in the back in the studio because I want to show you something. I want to show you that and that. But yes, we're going to be talking about that thing behind me. The sound is good, excellent. I'm glad. It was a bit hectic getting moved back here this afternoon, but I decided that rather than just describe this thing that I made at the weekend, I thought I'd show it to you. And let me give you a bit of backstory. I taught the masterclass this last 4 days. It was an advanced macro course for advanced photographers, and it was the first time I've done this course, and it was pretty involved. It involved outside work as well as inside work, lots of computer stuff and lots of time here in the studio. But unbeknownst to me, one of the students who was taking the course only uses a vertical rig most of the time, and I wasn't aware of that. I should have been, and I've added that question to the questionnaire. But the issue was he wanted to use as much of his own equipment as possible, which is a great idea, and I encourage people to do that if they can carry their stuff to the course. But I didn't have a working vertical rig. So I got with Bud, who has the rig that I want to build, and chatted with him. And that was right before the course started, and I didn't have time to order anything. I didn't have time to go out and get anything. Now, most of you know that I have been working on a very complete rig that is both horizontal and vertical and mobile. That is not ready to build. I built several of them, but the final version of it wasn't quite ready. I'm waiting on funding to get the rolly part, the cart part. So I didn't have the stuff I needed to throw that together overnight, but I did have enough stuff to make a rig. And what I wanted to do today was what I did when I introduced this rig to my students. And that was go through each part of it and explain why it's there and what it does, but also give any pointers to how you would build it yourself, but also some pointers as to how you would use it. And that's probably the most important part. Well, it turns out that nobody was taking notes, and everybody has asked since, would I please do a video repeating what I said when we went through this thing? And I thought, well, you know what, we'll do better than that. We'll do a live stream with it. I'll take your questions as we go. I'll answer any questions you have, and also give all those pointers, tips and what have you as we go along. So it'll help the students, it'll help you, and it'll be fun to do for me. The only problem is it's very hot in the house and the air conditioner is making a whistling noise. So if Bud or Alistair could, or Amy has shown up as well. Hey Amy. If any of you guys could tell me if the whistling noise from the air conditioner is too serious, I don't know what I'll do. I'll cut it off. I'll turn it off and get hot. That's what I'll do. So a couple of things I wanted to just briefly mention before we get started. As usual, I've got them on a piece of electronic paper this time instead of my usual noisy bits of paper, but the print is very small. I'll have to fix that for next time. So welcome to everybody, but especially people who are here for the first time. If this is your first live stream, we do this twice a week, every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 o'clock on Tuesdays, 2 o'clock on Thursdays, Central Time that is. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's just one of the things we do. We also make videos, write articles, do private sessions with our Patreon supporters, all that kind of stuff. So thank you for joining us, and please come back again, because if this one doesn't suit you, the next one will be completely different. And welcome to any new subscribers, and of course welcome and thank you to all my Patreon supporters, without whom there would be no live streams, there would be no videos, articles, or live injuries. And thank you one and all. Live injuries is a special we just started doing on Tuesdays. I haven't had an injury yet, but we have an hour still to go. Last week was a blast. The Pazoom that we had, and for those of you who aren't aware, a Pazoom is a Patreon Zoom call. I do 2 hours every other Saturday, and all the Pazoom members who want to attend can, Patreon members who want to attend can come along, and it's where we do kind of like a live stream, except you get to yell at me and talk to me, and we talk about macro and things related. This last one on Saturday was probably the best yet. Certainly I enjoyed it as much as any that I've done, and that was thanks to the entertaining and enlightening words of wisdom from our guest Dennis H. Miller. Dr. Miller joined us on Saturday for a couple of hours and talked all about AI and art, and showed us lots of his amazing work. I had a blast, a great time, and everybody that's given me feedback says the same. So thank you, Dennis, and travel safe on your way back up north this evening. It's been brought to my attention that some folks who have left me messages on the Walls app are somewhat chagrined that I have not yet responded to them. Well, I apologize, and an apology is due, because the whole idea of the Walls app was that it would allow us to get a response to you quickly. And if that's not happening, then I owe you an apology. But you also need to chill out, and I'll explain why that is. I am still the only guy here. There isn't a guy or girl, actually. There isn't anybody else. It's just me. And I've been gone for 2 weeks in Europe, somewhat on work, but mostly just a holiday. And then since coming back, I've been setting up for this course and conducting the course, which finished this morning. So I just haven't had time. It's plain and simple. I have not had what must seem like the 2 minutes it would take to read a message and respond to it. Multiply that by several hundred, and I just didn't have time to do it. Didn't get to it, I'm sorry. But yeah, give me a break. I'm by myself here. All right, and I'm not going to promise to read them tonight either, because it's been a long 4 days. But hopefully we'll catch our breath and things will be back to normal soon. I had one personal inquiry seeking an update following the altercation that I had with my fridge last Tuesday night. Exhibit 1, much better, almost completely improved. And the inquiry was looking after the well-being of the fridge. So thank you, Mr. Whirlpool, for calling. The fridge is doing fine, no complaints, seems to be just exactly the same as before the accident, and we won't need anything from you. And I did pass on your greetings to all my other appliances, so thank you for that. What I am working on right now, so you can know what to expect, a bunch of stuff. I'm working on a review, an in-depth review of the Optilux lighting system that is being put out by Novaflex. You are getting ready to see it kind of in action, actually. It's behind me, and it's part of the rig that I'm going to be showing you. But the review, the full video describing and going into some depth with this piece of equipment, is still a couple of weeks away. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So that's one of the things I'm working on. I'm also working on, let me see, well, let me go back to the first thing that I didn't mention, which is the course. The course was a big success. it was also a mountain of work, and I definitely want to do it again. So if you're interested in an advanced course for advanced photographers, people who've been doing macro for some time and really want the fire hose turned on, this is for you. And I'm going to be doing it again when I have sufficient interest. If you're interested, please let me know. I'll get your name on the list. May is bug month, and I'm starting to think of ideas, ways to make it special. Haven't come up with any yet, but I will. So if you're into bugs, it's for you. Bug month is. And another thing that's coming up that will, I think, be exciting for a lot of folks is Angie is coming back to judge another flower competition. This flower competition is going to be in September, I think. I didn't get to confirm that with Angie yet, but I know she has plans for the summer, and what we're aiming for then is the end of the summer, like we did last time, so that the Norwegians can have an entry for the 10 minutes that the flowers are out, and everybody will be happy. So I'll let you know as soon as I know when it is. I'll also let you know as soon as I know what it is, what the theme is. Angie told me, I wrote it down, and I tucked it away somewhere safe so that I wouldn't lose it. And then after it got out of the washing machine and the dryer, it was just a round white ball, and I couldn't read anything on it. So I've forgotten already what the theme is. I'll talk to Angie, she'll let us know, and people more responsible than me will keep reminding you so you can be thinking about it. But it's something like moody? Was it moody? Could be moody, could be a bit bigger word than that, but if Angie's here, she'll probably, in an angry tone, put a message in the thingy, and then you'll know. The competition this month is crystals. It's that's interpreted any way you want to interpret it by crystals. Photograph a crystal, needs to be macro, needs to be your own work. You can submit up to 2 pictures, and a tip here. I've been doing lots of making crystals with chemicals and then photographing them. So those are going to probably interest the judge a lot more than, say, just the crystal you found on the sidewalk. Though that would be interesting too. Okay, crystals this month. And I think I've covered everything. That was quick. Good job, Alan. Oh no, I've been working with the Mitutoyo M plan. 100 times objective. That is a 0.7 numeric aperture. That is a beast of a lens. It weighs as much as a Volkswagen and is about 1.5 feet long, and it is not a piece of cake to use, but boy is it sharp and does it take good pictures. I am going to be talking a lot more about that, and I am going to review the lens, and I think I'm going to do it on Thursday. In fact, I know I'm going to do it on Thursday because I've already told people I'd do it on Thursday. It'll be a preliminary review. I'll probably do a video as well. This is a different kind of macro. This is not for the faint of heart, and it's a lot of fun too. So it's a wonderful lens. I had a good idea for live stream segments, not for whole sessions, but just for a segment that I could do every couple of weeks. And I got it from a book I read on the plane a couple of weeks ago. It's this book. It's the 100 Ideas That Changed Photography by Mary Werner Marion. And it's really, really good. It's clever, it's well put together. And I think I'll do a set of discussions on some of these ideas, because some of them will surprise you. Some of them surprise me. So there's much, much more besides that, but that's the bulk of the stuff that popped into my mind that I'm working on right now. You know I'm always working on stuff. I'm going to have a very brief divert while I look at the messages, see if there's anything I need to address right this minute, and then we'll go over, get into the rig. Oh, I missed one, but don't worry about it. It's not important. So let me see. Sounds good, vision's good, everybody's greeting everybody. Can't hear the air conditioner. Fantastic. That's good, because it's loud in here. But if you can't hear it, that's good. Will I remember to post the 3D files for the polarizer system? Yes, I will. But the issue with that is not posting the files, it's knowing that the files that I have made are going to work. My printer is not working. I have the awesome Prusa 3 Mark 3, no, hang on, i3 Mark 3, some 2 3s in it anyway. It's the one before the current one. And it's a lovely printer, and it has done wonderful things for me. It works great. I uploaded the new firmware into it the other day, and it stopped working. It won't even start. It has problems with calibrating an axis, and then it has these thermal emergencies all the time. I don't know what it is. I've read through my troubleshooting book, and yeah, I really can't figure it out. Somebody cleverer than me is going to have to do it. But I have to wait until I get the air conditioner in my car fixed, which I also don't know how to fix. And that's a more emergent emergency. But anyway, as soon as I print the initial prototype and confirm that it works, because I redid it, I did it in a more robust way, you're going to love it. I can actually show it to you. Oh, this is probably risky. This might be too risky. Let me see what happens when I press the button. Nothing bad happened. I'm going to share my screen with you. Well, I can share all my screens with you because I control them, don't I? This is the thing that Bud's asking about. If I can find the right button. There we go. That is the new one. This is the one that I made last week, and it has 2 polarizers. The specimen goes in here on the red disc, and a retarder plate goes in here. They're all adjustable, rotatable, and your RM75 light box slides in there, and this whole thing goes underneath your Oregon, your camera lens, your whatever you've got, and you can even sit it up on its back and shoot into it horizontally. So it's really very, very cool. And I will make these code available to anybody who wants it, but only after I know it works. The last one was a bit too small, and the discs were too thin to be easy to use. So let me just make sure I've got the sizes right, and then I'll publish it. And anybody who wants to make one can have it. Fair enough? Okay. And I will get rid of that now. It was great fun to make, and I really am confident that it'll work. I know it'll work because, well, it's not here, it's over there, but I've been using the components from the insides of it just without the case to hold it, and it works beautifully. I've been using it on all my crystal stuff. I'm not going to get into that anymore right now because we've got too much to talk about. Were there any other messages? Will I remember to post those 3D files? Yes, I will. I promise. And other people have asked about it. Good. This looks like it might be a popular device. If you want, I'll send Bud. I'll send you the G code, and you can try to print it. That might be a good way to do it. And I'll just talk to you and explain how the bits go together. Yeah. Amy just said the same thing I just said, except she wants me to send the prints to her. I'll send them to both of you, and you can have a race. The way I was printing it was going to take 47 hours to print anyway. So, all right, good. I'll do that tonight when I am posting the Pazoom for Patreon members, which I forgot to do this weekend because of the course, but I will put it up tonight, I promise. Okay, so we're going to go over to the rig and the requirements for this thing. Friday night, I decide I have to build something that I can demonstrate all of the techniques that the students were going to need to know from a vertical rig. I didn't have anything special. I didn't have any equipment that had been pre-purchased for the final rig. All I had was my workshop full of bits and pieces and extra equipment sitting around in the studio. Now, that's quite a lot of extra equipment, lots of bits and pieces, so enough to put together, I thought, pretty much anything I wanted. So the core of this thing was I needed a rigid, upright structure that could hold a big camera, a big lens system, whatever I wanted to put on it, could hold it and keep it upright, balanced. That's the first thing, a stand. Now, what Bud used in his absolutely brilliant system was a tool post, the kind of thing you put a grinder on in your workshop. It's a square piece of steel. It's heavy and it's tall and it's expensive and it's solid as a rock. That's what I wanted. That one day, that's what I'll get. But I didn't have one, couldn't go out and get one, and the one place that had them that were affordable was Harbor Freight, but they were round, and that kind of defeated the object. I wanted something square so it would be easier to drill and it would be flat. What I did have, because I had just hung 2 monitors in my studio, one for each rig, I just hung these on the wall and didn't need the stands that they came with. And one of them came with a fairly sturdy, round stand. This thing. But it wasn't the most attractive thing, and it had an uneven, bumpy kind of shaped base to it. A good solid base, but things would fall off it if I used it as the base. So job one was to come up with a vertical structure that would reference off this vertical post that I could anchor everything to in a way that would allow me to anchor the post to the wall if need be, but would also give me a flat surface to work on underneath. So that was the beginning of the thing, and I knew that that was going to have to happen in the workshop. So I went out to the workshop and started working on the base and the upright. Now, there is very little room for me to move in here, but I think the other camera is working, so let me double check before we start. It is, thank goodness. Okay, I'm going to head over there, and I will check periodically on the monitor to see if we have any problem with the sound as I get away from the computer. I don't think I will, because we're on wireless tonight. And there's a question from Zeno. Is it theoretically possible to photograph 2026, the 2026 Iceland eclipse with northern lights in the same shot? Some on Discord say no. My thoughts. Oh dear. I need to think about that. I imagine no. But I don't know why I'm saying that. Yeah, let me think about it, Zeno. That's a really good question. I know somebody I can talk to get an answer. So here is the rig, and I'm getting a low battery warning on my phone, even though it's plugged in. It's plugged into a charger. I'm going to plug it into another one. Chat amongst yourselves. All right, let's try this. All right, do we still have a picture? No, we do not. Fantastic. That phone has been plugged into a charger for 2 hours, and the power just went out on it. So it's also not connected. But I really need it to show you the stuff in back. So just I'll talk about the basic structure first. The upright was round, and I didn't like that, but there was not a whole lot I could do about it until I could get the square post. So I had to work with the round post. Now the good thing is it still had the clamp up here, right there, that the TV was mounted to. So it's a very sturdy clamp that turns in, I think, three different degrees of freedom, so you can position your television wherever you want it. And it's solid. It's made of thick steel. So what I did with that was I decided to put a wooden upright, made of a very hard wood, a maple, that I drilled the holes and drilled holes in the metal bracket so that I could mount it on that plate. Now, I knew that it wouldn't be exactly flat, but that didn't matter because I was going to then use some bracing to brace it in a vertical orientation, and that's what I'm going to show you. As soon as I figure out, oh, I see what happened with the phone. Just when I turned off the power thing, it disconnected me. That's not a problem. It's just reconnected me. Okay, good. So let me see if this works. Alrighty, I knew that we couldn't get by as well as things were going at the beginning. That just wouldn't be cricket. I also can't find my OBS. There it is. Okay, so, alright. Yes. Let's try again. And we've still got the wireless mic. Okay, good. Sorry about that, chaps. I am not, to be honest, a huge fan of this program that I use to run the telephone camera, but it doesn't matter. So let's go around to the side here. First of all, I'll give you a quick overview of the thing. Maybe if I could get the picture a little bit smaller, that would help. Well, I can't, so we'll do it from back here. So here is the rig from top to bottom, and you can see it looks very standard like any other rig, except maybe when you get to the bottom. I decided I wanted to build a recess into the bottom, a space, partly, let me find a light, partly so that I could hide the ugly foot at the bottom of the that you can see in there, possibly. There, you can see it now. So that thing was on there. I wanted it hidden, but I also wanted to be able to put something through the floor of this. Actually, what I want to be able to put through there is my polarizing device, so that the light is coming out about flush with the surface here. So I've now got this space underneath for that and anything else I want to put in a sub-stage setting. So let's go first to the mechanics of the post. The post comes up through the wooden base, which is just a piece of plywood. By the way, every piece of wood on this build was salvaged from scrap. Stuff that people had thrown away. These were cabinet doors that I got from the side of the road, and I peeled all the paint off and stripped the paint and finished them top and bottom, and got these lovely pieces of old 7-ply plywood that's hard as a rock. Beautiful stuff. So the sides were just made with some leftover pine, and then the plywood top and bottom, and then an extra bit just to fill the front part there. Now, I don't know if your picture's going on and off like it is on the phone here, but it's very disconcerting. Anyhow, with the box completed, I had the post come up through the back and just cut a little relief slot in it, which I screwed back in to make it look neater. And then, here is the bracket I was telling you about. It's very simple. It has a large bolt on the back that tightens it to the post, and then one bolt that's vertical, one that's horizontal, so that you can move it like this, as well as like this. Now that's important because when I put this piece of maple on, it was neither flat or vertical. It was close, but it was neither exactly, and I needed it to be both. So what I did was I used my protractor. I have a Klein digital protractor, which I attached to the face of the maple, and then manually positioned it till it was perfectly straight up and down, and then I made a pair of wooden braces that are just pressure fit between the upright and the flat, like so, and they hold it perfectly straight. This is absolutely vertical and completely flat, front left to right. So this was what everything was going to get built on, and the next thing I did was just put a block of wood that I finished to completely flatten all the surfaces on it, so that I could use it as a basis for putting the rail on, and yeah, that's. Hang on. Let me get some more cord here. There we go. So that's what I did, was I attached a rail which is screwed in with long, heavy screws, about 6 of them. So this base rail is not a fancy rail. It's not the double Arca Swiss. It's just a simple Arca Swiss rail, to which I then attach with heavy bolts, 1, 2, 3 of my Niwa quick release clamps. 3 because 2's not enough when you're putting all of your camera gear on the end of it. So with that done, I put a rail on it. Now, I have been using the Novaflex rail, the Castell Micro, but I needed that today for another project, so I had to swap it out, and I currently have the stack shot on. But I have tested this with every rail that I have access to, and the rail you use doesn't make any difference. This is a tad bit noisy, using the stack shot vertically like this, but I think that's just because of the amount of torque that the heavy weight is putting on the rail. You'll notice that I have an non-traditional way of attaching the plate in the vertical setting. This piece normally faces the other way, but I didn't like the way it felt, and I wanted the camera to be a bit more dependent. It just seemed to work better at this height. So I reversed this and then bolted on a regular, really right stuff quick release device in the horizontal orientation. I try whenever possible to attach cameras and lenses to my rails when they're vertical horizontally. It gives me a little bit more comfort that they're not going to slide out of the Arca Swiss clamp. And that's where the camera goes, by its L bracket. And this will hold a great deal of weight like this. I'm very happy with it. Now, is it perfectly stable? It's not as rigid as I would like, and for a temporary system, it's certainly good enough. And I won't be able to show you the pictures tonight because first of all they're not finished, but also they're not mine. They're collaborative with one of my students, so I've got to clear that before I can show the pictures. But I'm impressed with how good they are. In fact, I'll just turn the camera on and I'll show you the system working. Hang on just a second. I'd forgotten that I have the technology to do that now as I have the monitor hooked up. So as soon as we get that on, I'm using the Optilux lighting system, but you'll notice here I have my my fleet of MF12s. That picture is a little on the dark side. Maybe you can see better if I shine a light back there. There are 6 of them, all clamped to the rail and all charging all the time. That's where I keep them. And most of the time, at high magnification in a vertical setting, I will be using flash. But I am testing the Optilux system from Novaflex and Optilux. And that is this system you see here. Now I'm going to be very cagey about this. I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about it because I am still in the review process. But I will tell you this much: when you're using a 20 times magnification Mitutoyo in the vertical orientation, these lights are pretty magical. In fact, I think I can probably not get in trouble if I turn them on, just so you can see some pretty spots of light and see how accurate this thing is. This is a lovely setup here. Let me see if I can get a little action from the camera. No, I turned it off instead of on, so let's see what we get now. I'm using my number one choice for relay lens right now with the Mitutoyo objectives, and that is the Micro Nikkor 200mm f4, which is by itself one of the best macro lenses you'll ever use, and I just love it. But as a relay lens with these Mitutoyos, it is fantastic. And I have the RAF adapter I've been raving about on the bottom too, so you get a very flush fit. I'm not going to say a whole lot about these lights right now, other than to say they are infinitely positionable. This is only one of the configurations that they're available in. They come in one light, 3 lights, and a focusing attachment that I'm not going to show you tonight. That will be in the review. So I'm shooting here at 20 times magnification. This is a day flying moth from Thailand. Thailand, yep, I believe so. And let me put my diffuser back over there, and you can hope, oh, not with that light you can't. Let me see if I can get rid of that glare. This might not do it justice, but this is really nice lighting on this. Very rich, and the detail is amazing. So that's at 20 times magnification. I've also been photographing these scales this afternoon at 100, which is a different matter altogether. But these lights are fantastic. They do a great job. Very adjustable in all respects. And yeah, it's fun to use. Right now the lights are barely even on. They're at 5%. I should crank them up a little bit and show you how much more light you can get. And because of the fact that these are very finely adjustable, and I've got my subject sitting on an XYZR platform, I can really examine the shot before I start taking it, because these are huge stacks. Anyway, exciting stuff. I'm super happy with this setup. Now, a couple of the pointers that I made during the course: when you set up in a vertical rig using a multi-axis mover like this, one of your axes is going to be the XY, and you may have heard me say, and you may have heard other people say, don't be redundant with your mover. If you've already got an XY, don't have another one up here. It just wastes vertical space. That might be true in some settings, but in this particular setting, I would strongly recommend that you keep the Z-axis, the up and down, on your system or with your lab lifter. The reason is I use it to focus. I do not like vertical rigs, and I do not like even the best rail in the world moving my objective up and down so close to the slide or the solid metal surface. It makes me nervous. I would much rather do that by hand, and that's what I use this control for. And as you'll see up there on the screen, I can rack focus very accurately from my positioning table as I'm setting up my shot. Okay, so that's a useful pointer to have. I also have redundancy in my X and Y here at the bottom. This is a single axis mover, but it's lovely, and I needed the extra height, so no harm in having it. You'll see posts bristling up from the table all over the place. This is just a spare post that I use for things like this, which is to to take some of the tension off the shutter release cable that's going to my camera. I hate having cables in vertical rigs dangling down. That's when they'll get tangled around something and you'll yank on it and something will get pulled off the stand. So in almost every case, my cable management is pretty meticulous. You'll see that every cable is attached, even the bendy arm lights that I use. I've run out of power cable here. The bendy arm lights are individually cable managed all the way down to the plug, so that my cables stay exactly where I put them. This is the stack shot motor, and next to it is the HDMI to the monitor. So all of my cables stay together, stay in bundles, and there's no slack. There's no cable left just dangling around. Now, the position of your rail vertically is really important. I'm lucky in that my stack shot is an extra long stack shot. It has tremendous amount of travel. That means I can get away with being a little less accurate maybe than I otherwise could. But it's a good idea to actually think about what you're going to be shooting with and how much space you need at the bottom, and doing some measurements and trying to make sure that you get let's get this as straight as I can. So I know that if I'm using a microscope objective, I'm going to need this much adapter for the DSLR lens, this much for the DSLR lens, and this much for an objective. And the objectives are different lengths, but I know that this is going to be about the end of my device. I know exactly how long this is, so I can position the middle of my rail where I'm usually going to be. Now, if I'm shooting with a macro lens, I may want the camera all the way back up here, but that's not a problem because I can also get rid of a lot of this down here and drop my specimen lower. I can even cut a hole in this and go down to the table. So thinking ahead is important, just as it is on a horizontal rail, but to be honest, you've got more wiggle room horizontally than you do vertically. I'm not a big fan of moving stuff way high up in the air. It's already scary enough as it is. You'll notice one thing that's missing. I took it off and am replacing it this evening, but I normally have a safety cable that runs through my L bracket and is attached to the highest point of the rig, and it has just enough stretch or just enough play that the camera will dangle from it above the table. That is an absolute emergency last resort to stop the camera from hitting the floor if one of the attachment points were to give way. And it is a single attachment point at the camera clamp, so you do need to think about that. I could also run another cable from the camera straight to the stack shot, seeing as the stack shot's very unlikely to fall off this rig, and that would be another safety step. I use picture hanging cable, which is covered in nylon, but I use aluminum crimps on it. That I put 3 of them on it, or make a loop and crimp it 3 times. That will hold my weight. It'll definitely hold the weight of the camera. What else do I need to show you? Normally, I'm using the MF12s. That is my light of choice for high magnification macro and low magnification macro and outdoor macro. But yeah, it is the best way to go. Now, in order to make this more visible, I have taken the flashes down for now, but when they're attached, they'll attach along the front edge, and they will attach along the side of this table, which will be, the next time you see this, about 2 inches longer. I didn't have enough wood to do it that way the other night, so I've been attaching the flashes actually to the upright, which is a bad idea. That is one thing you want to avoid at all costs, is attaching anything to this upright. And just, I'll show you the screen and you'll see why. Oh, you may be able to see it. No, you can't, I don't think. Well, now you can. Look at this. If I touch anything on this upright, it just vibrates like crazy. And this is what using a narrow, a small diameter upright does. This is a bad system for vibration control. You have to have secondary vibration control absolutely flawless if you're going to get good pictures with something like this. So this is a temporary rig. One thing that I could do would be to bolt this upright to the wall, because there is a very thick double upright member in there that I can put a big bolt to, and I'm probably going to do that because it's going to be a while before I can get the permanent system in place. But in the meantime, I have to be so careful about not adding extra vibration to the upright. Even this, see that? I'm tapping the light, and the image is vibrating like crazy. And this is a solid 3/4 inch plate of wood with a chunk of metal that weighs 2 pounds sitting on top of it, and the whole thing is supported on 8 discs of sorbothane, and it still vibrates. Vertical posts with heavy weights on the top vibrate. So you're dealing with a vibration prone system. You need to take that into account. Air conditioners are off, nothing is running in the house. Because of the way the plumbing is in this house, it makes a lot of gurgly noises, and the floor vibrates when the pipes are pumping water around. Don't ask me why, I'm not a plumber, but boy, it makes this vibrate. So all of that has to be taken care of. When I'm shooting at 100, if you think this is bad, at 100 you can't breathe on it. So I mean, the air's off. I usually wait till after midnight before I start even shooting at 100, and then I'll tiptoe out of here and I won't come back to this end of the house till it's over. But I'd be doing that no matter what the system was. Even if I had the whole thing suspended from the ceiling on rubber bands, I'd still be careful with it. The diffusion that I use is one of two things. When I'm using the flashes, and I have a lot of them because I use, as my magnification goes up, I use more flashes at lower power to increase my light. I never turn up the power on the flashes. I keep them as low as I can so that my light is even and soft and diffused. But that means I'll have 6 MF12s clustered around here. And I can't individually add a double layer of diffusion to every one of them. So what do I do? Well, what I have been using is, I took it apart, I'm afraid. I had just a big strip of mylar, about twice this long and twice this wide, to which I use Gorilla Tape to tape a bendy wire. It's just a 25 gauge resistance wire that I mount to the end of a bendy arm, and the whole thing it's a vertical tunnel is what it is, and it sits around the whole tower like this and goes all the way up on the lens. No light can get to the subject without going through it, and it is the perfect second layer. It's a pain, and it is prone to get knocked as you're positioning things, but it's a must. You have to have it. I'm going to put a different specimen on just to show you how versatile this system is. I usually have a little tab of, well, I'll get one, a little tab of sticky tape, my favorite Gorilla tape, a tiny piece of this, like this, that I fold over one edge, and I'll put this right on the edge of my collar there, and when I want to work underneath, I'll pick it up and just stick it to the side of the objective to hold it out of the way, because I'm actually letting it sit on the slide, or usually around the subject. It's just one way of doing it. But I got some sand. This was something Dr. Miller brought for the course. This is garnet sand, or it's made of pellets of garnet, and as well as other things that you'd find in sand. And this stuff is amazing to behold. Let's see if we can turn our lights back down a little bit. If you get an opportunity to see any of this stuff, to shoot any of this stuff, you definitely should. It's absolutely beautiful. I need to crank this up a little. I think I'm gonna... Oh well. I don't think this demonstration is going to work because I can't see because of all the light on the screen. There's it's interesting anyway. If you get a chance to photograph some sand made of garnet, do it. What have I done? Have I turned the ISO up? Yes, I have. Just chat amongst yourselves. Let's see if we can get a decent picture here. Well, take my word for it. It's been working fantastic all day long. I've been taking pictures at high magnification with no trouble at all. But yeah, I pressed something while I've been talking, I think, and yeah, let me just try turning the shutter speed way down. That'll brighten it up. Anyhow, let's see, what else have I forgotten. Power management. Yeah, forget about it. I'm not going to be able to do that and talk at the same time. That's too complicated. Power management. You are going to be running a lot of different power requiring devices from this. Your rail, your work lamp, your photographic lamps, your camera, gosh, your flashes, all of that needs to be powered. I recommend you do not try to run all of the power that one of these things uses off one circuit. That is dangerous. This will pull too much current from a single circuit in most houses. So what I do is I run a cable from a different circuit in the house, sometimes as many as 3 different circuits, and have 3 power strips so that I distribute the load over a bigger area so the wires don't get as hot. I also use very heavy cable. My son would know the name of this. I think it's 14 gauge. Could it be 12? It might be, I don't know. It's the heaviest duty extension cable that you can buy, the yellow stuff at Harbor Freight. It's expensive, but it will handle the kind of current you may be pulling when you have a lot of stuff going on. I will often have 6 chargers going, plus the other devices that I make that use power, anything that uses stepper motors. It's all going to add up. So be mindful and try to distribute it evenly. A key: make sure that you have a work light that is independent from your photographic lights, independent from your flashes, that is just for you to see your camera, see the buttons and knobs, and see where your hands are. The thing that gives me chest pain is to watch people working around a rig like this. It's very compact, and there's a a $3,500 objective sitting on the edge of the table and they're working in the dark, it's just a matter of time before a hand knocks that off. So I have lights from above, from the sides. These are just dedicated work lights. That's all they're for. And when I'm changing settings, replacing a piece of equipment, all those lights are on. If you have the luxury of being able to put a shop light, a strip light above your system that can be turned on and kept on all the time, do it. You cannot have enough light when you need it in a pinch. So I'm going to see what kind of questions we have. Other questions will, other points are going to occur to me as we go along. You'll notice that I mount my stack shot controller on a bendy arm or an articulating arm up off the table. That is my par for the course. Everything needs to be up off the table. That way I know it's secured. If it's on the table, it can get knocked off. If it's above the table and secured, it's not going anywhere. And I love having my the stack shot or my Wii Macro controller, best of all the NovaFlex controller, up off the floor, right where I can see it, right where my hand is. What else have I not shown you? Oh, the Walls pigtail. You'll notice that all of my flashes are plugged in at the same time and all oriented the same way. I have a system that uses a pigtail of charging cables. It's just this little USB adapter you get from Walmart. I have a total of 6 of those A to C charging cables, and all 6 of them are plugged in and turned on all the time, so that my technique is, when I'm using the flashes, they're unplugged. They have to be unplugged. But the second I get done with them, they get put back on the rack and plugged back in. So if I'm shooting a big sequence, a number of shots in a row, I'll cycle the MF12s. I'll use them in groups of 4. And the ones that aren't being used are being charged. That way I don't ever have to stop, and I've always got fully juiced up flashes. Just try not to get in the habit of leaving them sitting on the shelf, and you'll do it later when you come back, because you won't, and you'll end up with dead flashes and it will spoil everything. All right, let me see. I know I've missed a ton of stuff, but there are some comments and I want to see what people are asking, so let me pull this closer. I think I missed something, says someone with a Sony. Why vertical? Why a 200mm lens and not bellows as used for the horizontal? And why no infinity space when 50mm was ideal? So many questions, so little time. No, this is entirely reasonable. There are many ways to skin a cat, and my preferences aren't always what my students have or want to learn. And the use of a relay lens was simply because the guy that works vertically uses a 200mm relay lens as his primary relay lens. So I wanted all my teaching to be on that, so that's why it's there. It could just as easily be extension tubes, but I'll tell you, it wouldn't be bellows. Even though Bud Parrott loves to use bellows vertically, I've never been real comfortable with it because of how much it adds to the moment of inertia, putting it out at the end of a rail. I don't like bellows vertical, but yeah, you could use it. All it is space. It's just empty space. Something to separate your relay lens from your sensor. Why no space? Well, that's also explainable. When I'm using an ITL 200 or a Raynox tube lens, I like to have a pretty long infinity space. I found that reduces the contrast issues. When I'm using a camera lens, I want as little space as possible. And that's why I had RAF cameras make this adapter for me that puts the objective about 1 millimeter in front of the lens. That is just because, in my experience, that causes less problem with a camera lens, not with the regular relay lenses. So it's just these are just fine points of my experience, stuff that I've come to prefer over time. So you're right to have questions, and you're right to say, well, why are you not using exactly the same as you do when you're horizontal? Well, because it's vertical. And I think I already answered why I was doing the vertical. By the way, I was building vertical for myself for one reason, and that is to photograph aquatic animals. That is hard to do on a horizontal system. So I needed that anyway. But once I build it, I'll use it for other things as well. But I don't like vertical as much as I do horizontal, but neither here nor there. So what's the diffuser? As I showed, a little collar or a big collar, it doesn't matter. I use 2 layers of diffusion, whether I'm horizontal or vertical, and if I have room, I'll add a 3rd if I need it. I hate specularity in my pictures, so I will go to great trouble to get them diffused well. And remember, the other key secret to diffusion is add more light sources at lower power, rather than turning up the power on the light sources you have. If you just remember that, your pictures will get better, I think. 6 MF12s at 1/8 power is better than the 3 of them at 1/4 power, by a long, long way. All right. So I have had no inspiration on whether or not you can photograph the northern lights and the no sun in the sky at the same time. It strikes me as impossibly complicated. I'm sure the answer is mathematical, and yeah, I'll find out for you and I'll answer next time. Joseph, tell Alan I have a hardwood drum, a musical instrument based on being able to bend and vibrate cocobolo wood, which is 4 times harder than rock maple. Yes, it is. And the wood that I'm using on my permanent build actually came from one of those boxes that you sit on and whack with your fingertips. I found it at a thrift shop. It sounded awful. The tone was not good, but the wood that it used was fantastic, and I'm using that for the permanent build. I love that stuff. I love all wood. I love working with wood. It's great fun. How are we doing on time? We just ran out about 30 seconds ago, so let me see any other questions. You should have collected some black volcanic sand from the beaches on Iceland. No, that would have involved getting out of the bus, and it was 45 degrees below absolute zero. I wouldn't have made it one step. I did get some dirt, sand, dirt from the beach in Iceland, and it looks like dirt. Do you want some? I'll send you a bag. This sand is way nicer. I've got a picture of it, but I think I'll probably break the computer trying to show it. It's nice. It's full of different colors, and yeah, I like it. I'll show those pictures soon. Mike Olson says, what distance is your 200mm macro lens set at infinity, and what f-stop? Wide open and 200. So it is. You extend it all the way. It's an internally focusing lens, but you have it at the full 200mm, and I focus it at infinity. Now, like with any other infinity system, some lenses will focus just a bit beyond infinity, so I take it outside and set it up without the objective on it, and I make sure that I am focused at infinity, and then put a piece of tape on it so it doesn't move, then put the adapter and the objective on. As long as it's at infinity, you're golden. And a prime lens will work much better than a zoom lens in most cases. So that's why. And the 200, I never thought I'd use this gorgeous lens as a relay lens, but it does do an incredible job. It is very, very sharp, wide open, aperture all the way open, f4 in this. Okay, I think we covered it. Remember that the 100 millimeter, the 100 times objective has a 0.7 numeric aperture. So that's huge. That's going to be a light gathering monster. You've got to be very careful with that. All right, I think I've run out of time. I've answered all the questions I got. I've apologized and then kind of took the apology back again, which was mean, and I'll probably get in trouble for that. I showed you my bruised but healing arm. Look at the bump. It's not a lot smaller, is it? Terrible. I didn't fall over tonight while rushing in to get a last-minute beverage, and so life is good. Today was a good day. If you have any questions for me, yeah, put them in the place that you put questions, wherever that is. In the Walls app, yeah, do that, and I'll go over there and I'll answer my questions in the next day or so. I'll be back on Thursday. We're going to be talking about the 100 times objective from Mitutoyo, the M plan. And I'll tell you what I think of it. I actually just did, but I'll do that in more words on Thursday. And this is a non-presume weekend, so we all have the weekend off. I'm going to go take pictures. If anybody wants to come with me, you're welcome. And that's it. Thank you to Amy, thank you to Bud, thank you to Alistair for all you do, but particularly for guarding the door tonight. I do appreciate you. And yeah, we had 130 views tonight. That was pretty good. You guys take care. I'll see you on Thursday from the usual place down the hall. Good night.